Security in printing was never something that people asked for, but when breaches started happening, security became a big deal.
Do we really need AI in our printers too?
What AI in print does is that it understands the web page and it knows what you are trying to print.
How is HP tackling toner counterfeiting? Because that is a major issue in India at least.
Counterfeiting in India on toners has come down drastically. Today, the space between work and life is very thin, right? You're working everywhere. You're at home working and you're in the office. You carry your home to the office also because you have connected devices to do anything. Swiggy, Blinkit and Zepto kind of partners are going into print. So we are also working with them, trying to see how to provide an end-to-end solution.
Inkjet versus lasers. What's your take on this?
It's a very interesting conversation. For India, it is very unique.
Mr. Kumar, could you help me understand? I mean, printers has always been a category that didn't require too much wit, right? You put the paper in, you get the print. You scan something, you get the prints. You get it done, right? That's always how printers have been viewed. Now we're talking about integrating AI in printers. First of all, do we really need AI in printers? That's the big question, because we already have AI on our phones, on our wrists, on our glasses. And I recently had a conversation with the SVP of Qualcomm Personal AI. And he said this year we'll be seeing AI on our earbuds, right? That's crazy. Do we really need AI in our printers too?
So I think you answered the question by saying that you have AI everywhere. So the question is, why not in print? Okay. And print, I would say, is essential from a productivity standpoint, because today, if you see, whether it's in, let's take the example of homes, a lot of people print, let's say, cook recipes, articles to read, children's worksheets from, web pages, etc. What happens is there's a lot of clutter on the web page, which gets printed. So instead of having, let's say, 3 pages, you end up printing 30 to 20 pages with a lot of ads in between. What AI in print does is that it understands the web page and it knows what you are trying to print. It learns from you over time. And so if you want to look at let's say a recipe content or a web page article content, it'll just print that content. Few things it does. It makes your user experience seamless because you don't have to think too much about reformatting the page, restricting into 2 pages, etc. That comes through. Second thing is you don't waste paper, which is essential as well, right? And I think it's about then creating an environment where the system starts knowing what you print and how you print. That's how it is going to evolve. It takes a lot of frustration out of printing, right? So that's how AI in print is going to evolve over time, but this is just the beginning.
I've spoken to some of your competition recently. The last call I had with them was, I think, last month. They are focusing more on issues like reducing the user's per print cost, the wattage per print, right? So reducing the bills, the utility bills for mostly, and these things are mostly important for SMBs, small, medium businesses. HP is going the other way by integrating AI in printers. How do you see that panning out in the future? Because most of your competition is not talking about AI in printers.
That's right.
So from a business strategy perspective, how will that pan out?
So I'll tell you, if you look at printing, essentially you have to meet the needs of the user.
Right. At the end of the day. And users need AI in printers?
No. So, users will need AI in printers eventually, because that's how you can bring a lot of the cost down. One example which I gave you. Okay. So a lot of times people don't know that they need this or not, but when they start using it, it becomes essential for the need. Security in printing was never something that people asked for, but when breaches started happening, security became a big deal, especially on enterprise side. So to your point, that cost definitely is going to play a big role, and that is a given, right? So the important thing is, as you integrate technology into printing, how are you serving the customer? In terms of cost. As you see, especially in India, SMEs are going to evolve a lot. There's going to be more SMEs. There are going to be a lot of micro business customers who are going to come into play. They will definitely look at cost. And if you don't address that, then AI is one part of that, right? So if you look at what we are talking about is driving how you connect the devices, for example, as a solution. ISVs are going to play a big part in how workflow solutions are going to come into print in SMBs and enterprises.
Right.
There, when you get the workflow right and the costing right, if you don't have the full solution, then customers are not going to buy your product, right? It's ultimately as simple as that. So for us, what is essential is that how we will be able to transform the way we serve customers. Today, it's not a transactional business anymore. You have channel doing contractual business with customers, right, which is very cost-centric. So are our printers enabled to do the right connectivity across the spectrum, across endpoint solutions, whether it's PC, print, poly? That becomes much more important, whether your overall cost of operations against your productivity is going to improve or not. That's what we are focusing on,
Right.
not just the per page cost, right? Because per page cost doesn't mean much if you are if you're going to compromise a lot of the other stuff that will help you drive your productivity in the business.
We spoke about cost, and you also mentioned a bit about the security aspect. What are the other factors that are influencing purchasing decisions the most in the Indian enterprise and MSME sectors?
I think as I said, it's integrated workflow solutions, because today if you look at most of the SMEs and enterprises, they are also building their own security on top of the devices security that already exist. Also, how this software collaboration works with these devices across PS, print, poly, for example, right? So that becomes a key for a lot of decision making for customers, and what solution. So they're not necessarily looking at a standalone product. They're looking at what is a solution that a company can provide for them, and in flexible ways, whether it is transactional, whether it's contractual, or now rental is big, for example, as a model. Are we geared to give that to customers? And that's what we are focusing on.
So a very holistic approach is being taken by the customers.
That's right.
It has been 6 years since COVID came, and I hope that will stay that way unless we have another epidemic. One parting gift that event gave us was the hybrid work culture. How has that affected the print business?
So hybrid work culture, so it is like saying that today the space between work and life is very thin, right? You're working everywhere, and you're at home working, and you're in the office. You carry your home to the office also, because you have connected devices to do anything. So I think that there's a thin line between these two, and hybrid doesn't mean people are working at home. They're working everywhere. And if you look at SMEs today, as SMEs will continue to grow, a lot of their working force is not going to be in office. It is going to be in either a client's place or at working from home. So this has led to ensuring that technology companies like us are serving the need of how they're connected to the office network, whether they're at home or office, which means earlier you could just come to office and print in the office. Today you may need to print at home as well. And especially if you're an SME, a lot of your productivity rides on printing. Let's say you have to print invoices, you have to send documents for compliance purposes. So all this needs to be done anywhere. So one is accessibility to printing where you are, and how we are also enabling, let's say, for example, print as a service as a concept is now growing, right? So if you look, you go anywhere in the city, you will have print shops where you can print. How can we grow that business in a way that's much more productive, efficient, and can meet the customer's needs? Quick commerce is coming up in a big way. Print is one of the big features. If you look at any quick commerce platform, on the bottom there is print, right, which is addressing a customer need. How do we play in that platform, for example? So hybrid work has created a variety of places to print today, and our job is to make sure that we are there where the customer needs you.
What exactly is HP doing in the print as a service concept?
So print as a service concept, so if you look at, there are two parts to print as a service. One is the offline version, which is, let's say you go anywhere, you have a print shop where printers are printing. You have a lot of refurbished printers there, which doesn't really give cost value and productivity versus hazard to the environment as well to some extent. But what we are trying to do is create a solution, especially on our A3 and A4 laser devices, which drive the productivity for the customer. So that means one, it's reliable usage. So you'll often think that if I have to use an original HP printer, the cost may be very high, but it's about providing the right cost, because the print that they do is what their livelihood is. That's what their earning is, right? So it is very, very much essential. So we are actually driving this. We are driving this particular segment on how to provide the right solutions for the printing service partners who work offline.
Okay.
Second part is you have today, things like Swiggy, Blinkit, and Zepto kind of partners are going into print. So we are also working with them, trying to see how to provide an end-to-end solution. So from the time a customer clicks print on their mobile to the time it's delivered, can there be an end-to-end solution that can work through the dark stores? So those are places where we are working on exploring right now.
If we speak about HP's one HP vision, how does what we just discussed fit into that?
So it goes back to, I think, two things. So how are we better together? Because when you're going to a customer, you have the entire endpoint range to go with. If I add workflow solutions, for example, which my other colleague does, which is about driving contractual services to customers, you have an end-to-end spectrum of what you can provide from a product and solutions perspective. I think that's one of the key things of better together, because if you look at any office, I think there are a few things that really drive productivity. One is definitely the personal computer. Second part is printing would mostly be shared in many cases. So how do you ensure that the shared printer is productive for that environment? That's again a solutions play, not just a transactional product play. The third thing is collaboration devices, because that's what puts everyone together, right, in a company in terms of driving productivity. So I think that definitely stands out. Second thing is we are constantly investing in security, right? Whether it's security at the endpoint, whether it's a PC, whether it's a printer, even a toner, because a toner also has a chip. The supplies toner that goes into a printer has a chip. So those are also secured, and enterprises really look for security as a key feature to their printing and overall productivity needs. And this is where we play a big part. Second thing is how we're bringing in mobility solutions. So today we have HP apps that help to connect, print, scan, and save things in the cloud as well, right? So these are aspects that come together from a better together perspective for HP, going as one solution provider. Though we are different categories, I think now the categories the big evolution that's happening is these categories are coming together as one unit versus two separate. Like if you remember in the good old days, printer used to be called a peripheral, right? It is something that on the side. Today it's not. It is pretty much working by itself.
Right. It was more of an afterthought.
Yeah, that's right.
Understood. We mentioned the security aspect in printers a lot in this conversation. How is HP tackling toner counterfeiting? Because that is a major issue in India, at least. So what steps are being taken to tackle that issue?
So we have a worldwide anti-counterfeit team that really looks at, because counterfeiting is technically not legal, right? Yeah. So there is an anti-counterfeit team that HP invests on that regularly looks at places where there's counterfeit. We do sampling on the ground, and if you find, then there's an investigative team that goes and does raids and stuff. So, but I'll tell you something that I think counterfeiting in India on toners has come down drastically. Now it's quite barely minimal at this point in time, especially after COVID.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that is also that channel is evolving. As I said, we have contractual services going from channel as well as from HP. So from a cost benefit analysis, it may not be the same, may not be as lucrative as it used to be in the past. So counterfeiting, I would say, is much in control, but we do have a team that constantly looks at that.
All right. I want you to put an end to a debate that has been going on, at least in my conversations with people in this print category. Inkjet versus lasers. What's your take on this?
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting conversation. And I think it differs. So I'll tell you for India, it is very unique. Okay, so if I look at from an India lens, both will coexist.
Okay.
At least in the near future, both will coexist. And if you look at units, for example, it's a more or less a 50-50 mix right now between ink and laser. And the reason is the way people print. Okay, so if you look at micro SME enterprise, this sector for their productivity needs, there's no match. Laser would be the key go-to technology from printing standpoint, both in terms of ease, serve. So later on you will see that I'll talk about India Print Vision. One of the pillars is scaling service excellence, right? So the services component is a big part of this. How durable the product can get for huge printing needs, right? Like if you look at industry verticals like BFSI, banks, pharma, and all, they have big printing needs. So you have a large chunk of this in India, which will be laser. Home and micro to an extent will move to ink, because ink is getting more and more affordable. For printing, where you need to do day-to-day printing, you're not so worried about speed of outputs and how fast things could move, but it's much more economical from getting whether mono or color pages. So you will see this home micro segment more playing on ink and the rest playing on laser. So it is not one versus the other. Both will coexist, at least till the near future. If technology randomly shifts and a lot of efficiencies start to build everywhere else, then maybe. But I don't see that changing anytime soon.
What's your go-to-market strategy for SMEs, especially because SME sector is booming at the moment in India? So for them, is it more focus on offline channels, more focus on e-retail? What's your strategy?
For SMEs, it is currently very, very, very much driven by channel. Okay. For SMEs particularly, it is driven by channel, and channel itself is transforming, because channel used to be a very transactional play. Now channel is also becoming, they're building their own contractual capabilities working with vendors like us. So it is definitely a channel in that case, in that particular customer segment. E-commerce is coming up. So if you look at e-commerce companies, they are getting into e-commerce for businesses, right? It's still small. It will evolve over time, which happened with home as well, right? When e-commerce came, it took a while for that to evolve. Now it's a major player when it comes to addressing home segment. So it's still small, but we are playing everywhere. The way we are looking at it is where a customer has a need, do we have a medium to serve? Okay. So as that evolves, we need to be everywhere. That's how we're looking at it. But currently, it is more channel.
This was a very delightful conversation. Thank you, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah.
Pleasure chatting with you.
Same here.